We have a special guest on today. His name is Enzo Rendina. Let me give you a quick description about Enzo. Went to WashU, graduated last year, former college football player, currently trying to get into med school. He's taking the MCAT. He's a content creator on YouTube. Check out his channel. Enzo elaborates, very passionate about knowledge, and he has a passion for teaching. That's what he does. He's a former college football player. And one of the highest compliments I can give someone is one person who has high character. And I believe, and from my experience with Enzo, he is someone with high character. We're going to break that down too. I want to talk about that. Very impressive. But Enzo, welcome to Across the Aisle. Thanks for coming.
I appreciate you guys for having me. And that intro was flattering, man. You don't have to make me feel that good this early in the morning. It's not good for me, man. I need to hear bad things to start the day. A little controversy or adversary to get, my mind going. But I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of course. So with there's a lot of good stuff that we want to touch base on. I think it's fitting. A lot of the people that listen to this, they've come from content. They see my content. Now they're here. Some people may have a passion and an interest for it. Enzo elaborates. So you take a way less traditional route. Like you are solely focused on just kind of teaching people, educating people because you have a passion for that. You want to just break down your content journey and take us along with that?
Yeah, so I personally hate the content creator tag just because of its notion. It sort of like takes somebody away from who they really are.
Yeah.
But I obviously revere and respect content creators. It takes a degree of, let's say, balls to do it. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that in here. We probably should have cleared the
You
things
can
that
say whatever you want, bro.
but yeah, I started off initially. I didn't like the idea. I go back and forth with my feelings about social media. It can take a lot of your time and it can work against you or it can work for you. But I did 75 hard 2 years ago, and I had no forms of content, no pages or anything like that. So I wanted to document that. So I started an Instagram account called Enzo Rendina Fitness. And that sort of became a good joke that I had between all my buddies and stuff like that. And I would post like funny posts on there with them and stuff. But after a while, I had a lot of people messaging me like, hey, can you send me a workout? Hey, can you send me a workout plan? And I was like, man, this is something that could actually be sustainable. But it wasn't necessarily my favorite thing because working out was something that I held very personal to me and I liked to have an impact on people. So I had to find that balance between being okay with like putting all that out in the public and then also being happy that that's my goal. I want to help people out. That's like my whole intrinsic value is what I can do for other people. So I started there. I liked that a lot. I kind of upticked pretty quick in followers and then I stagnated because intermittently you have football seasons throughout college. Joe knows. So if you're on a great rhythm of something and you got another big time commitment, that'll take up your time. So anyway, sorry for the tangent. I pivoted from Enzo Rendina Fitness. I didn't spend a lot of time doing that. And I went to study abroad in London in 2023. And I realized very quickly in that January that I was not going to have every moment of time filled for like the first time in my life.
Oh
And I was
yeah.
like, I'm going to have a lot of time. You travel a decent amount, you study a decent amount, but you get a lot of free time.
Wait, bro, you're studying? You studied abroad? I just studied for
I mean,
zero.
yeah, I guess I have to say, maybe there was a teacher watching or something. I had to say it, but yeah, you barely study when you're abroad. So I had a lot of time on my hands. And honestly, man, I have like I need to be doing something. I need to be working hard on something. I don't know what the term is for that, but some sort of like toxic grind. I don't know, but it's always worked for me. I just need to be pursuing something. It keeps my mind oriented. So I decided, I don't even know if you know this, but I was like looking up ways to earn money on YouTube, just like side hustles and stuff.
We've all been there.
We've all been there, right? And I had a bike that was my form of transportation in London. And I did for like a week, you do like the grocery pickup for people. I was doing that on my bike and it was just a logistical nightmare. So I was like, I'm done with this. Went back to the well. I was like, how can I gain money? I started streaming chess on Twitch. I don't even know if you know that. You might know that.
Yeah.
Under the tag motivational push-up chess. And I actually, man, I accrued quite the following on there. I was doing streams pretty much every day, like 4 hour streams. And the main forms of revenue are ads and donations from people. But I had my own Discord. I had like over 200 people in my Discord. My Twitch had like over 1,000 followers. My concurrent viewers at my peak, I was averaging like 40 concurrent viewers a stream. So like 40 people in the chat, like talking.
Yeah.
It was an interesting time in my life and I really appreciated it. And then I realized that I actually did enjoy the prospect of making content. But I found that chess was a very limited niche. So I was like, I need to pivot here. So I did pivot and I went to what am I passionate about? What is something that I can spend a lot of time on, not get burnt out on? I'm not a big fan of the term burnout, and we can spin back to that later. But I found that a lot of my free time I like to dedicate to educating myself. But when I have different grinds going on, I wouldn't have time to educate myself. So I was like, why don't I make that my grind? And I like YouTube as a platform just because it's so tenured, and I like to see somebody like Mr. Beast, for example, who's been doing it for so long, and you look at his early videos and they're just nothing like what he was doing today. And you can check anyone's channel who's successful. If you go back to video one, everybody started somewhere. And I feel like YouTube is just the perfect example where the consistency, if you do it long enough, it'll pay off for you. So it's pretty much where I got now. Not your traditional content creator. I gotta maybe pivot towards it more if I want my channel to grow, but I
Yeah.
just enjoy the fact that I have the opportunity to make a video about something that I want to learn about and hopefully teach somebody in doing it. And that's, the basis of recollection in the first place. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but yeah.
I love what you said at the end there, like scrolling to the bottom of someone's YouTube channel. I think one person that always talks about it, have we all listened to Iman Ghazi before?
I have heard of that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like he always talks about these. I scroll to the bottom, see my day one videos. And like whether you like the guy or not, or you get anything from him, he has a channel of 6 million subscribers right now. Bro, I'm scrolling to the bottom of I need some motivation the other day. I needed some motivation. So I'm scrolling to the bottom. I'm looking at these first videos. And his first videos, what they were, was nothing about business. He was trying to be a bodybuilder. Day in the life of a kid trying to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
That's all they were. And they were god awful videos. Like they weren't
Yeah.
good at all, but just like over time, it's inspiring and you get better.
100%. I'm wondering, do you have any role models when it comes to content creation?
Not really, man, to be honest, because I want to tell you, it's more of like a side thing in my life. It's not the priority, especially with like pursuing ultimately the hope to become a doctor. It's difficult to make any sort of creation of content your top priority. Now, it's a good thing that you can really commit to the degree that you can, but it's hard to, I don't know, not I don't know the best way to say it. I guess my answer to your question is no, I don't really have any role models. Now, I do have people, I see their content and I'm like, that is obviously something I would like to achieve. You look at someone like Mr. Beast. I mean, he is maybe he doesn't know who I am, but, and I'm not a glazer by any means either, but man, Mr. Beast, he just impresses me and I really respect everything that he's done. That's just, a representation of hard work. And so anyone who works hard, that's my role model.
I got a random question, and this just popped up. So, Mr. Beast, what are the first things that come into mind when you think of Mr. Beast as a person? List them off.
Hard work. I don't know his character that well, but I see his product, and a lot of people say that you can separate the art from the artist, and I know he's had all that controversy lately, but I don't know. I just see what he's done. You can literally look at his first videos, and they're scuffed Minecraft streams, and you look at what he just started a game show, and Amazon gave him a budget of 100 million. Like that's not a coincidence, man. It's like he worked his way to get there. So like when you asked for the number one attribute is work ethic, but there's other things there. You have to be diligent. You have to be meticulous. I mean, if you watch his videos and you look at it from a creation perspective, there's literally a new scene every like 2 seconds, man.
Oh, I know.
And like this is the generation of ever dwindling attention span. So you have to be so it used to be easy, I would like to imagine, but it's only getting worse. My attention span is horrible, man. I do everything I can to change that. But if you look at his videos, they're meticulous, bro. They're calculated. There's no dead space. And
So
go ahead. Yeah.
so we got like for this, just no explanation. Like, what is it? So we got hardworking, detail oriented, meticulous. What else, Joe?
He's
What's one from
obsessed,
you?
bro. He's obsessed.
Obsessed. What else? What else, Joe?
Generous. Seems like
Generous.
yeah.
Okay. So everything Mr. Beast circles his content around is giving towards other people. He wants to be perceived as super altruistic, very charitable. It's not about me. I don't want success. I don't want power. It's on them.
Yeah.
But when you actually look at all of his game shows, what is going on? He is the main guy at the top of this huge mountain, and he has hundreds or thousands of people below him, and he is just playing games with these people.
Yeah.
He's manipulating them. He's controlling them. All it is a power scheme. What do you guys
anti Mr. Beast?
No. I respect the hell out of the guy. And everybody has their own whatever.
Yeah,
But what
yeah.
I'm saying is, do you think the altruism and the giving away money is all a little facade and cover up for his desire just to manipulate the fuck out of people and control them? Do you think that's the case?
It's interesting that you say manipulate is a tough word because he's the one orchestrating it. So maybe like directing versus manipulating, that's like a spectrum, he's probably somewhere in the middle. Obviously I'm not going to deny the fact that if he's giving these people money, there's some sort of relationship there that takes it away from a humanistic and makes it like transactional.
He's like a god. He's like a god and he controls.
Yeah, you absolutely can't deny it. And a lot of people do say he's trying to play God, but that's a whole different argument of where you ask, do the ends justify the means? And I didn't know if this was a philosophy podcast or not, but yeah.
Joe, what do you think?
It's an interesting take, man.
That's a good point, Anthony. I feel like I've seen some of his videos and they're just like a gut feeling that's just like something sinister might be going on here, dude. Like you have to stand in the same place for 3 days, like competing against each other. Like
that goes actually into the concept of, what money can buy. I was at like a lake house with my brother once, and my dad was like, I'll give you, it was freezing cold, just a freezing cold lake. And my dad was like, I will give you $100 if you jump into that lake. And my brother looks at me, he's like, this guy's trying to buy me right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just so funny. But then my dad upped the price a few times and my brother ends up doing it, of course, because Adam, it has value. Money has value, so you can't deny that.
Dude, that is an insane point. I have had people in my life and friends in my life where they're like, yo, like, I'll give you X amount of money to do this. But like they want to see you suffer for pain or do something gross. But part of it is they want to just buy you. And it's this little rush of control. And they feel like they're top G because they could just hand over $20 and you're so desperate that you need $20 that they're going to make you do so. That's a good point.
Everybody has a price, bro. Everybody has a price, whether you'd like to admit it or not. Especially, man, money's insane. Money's a whole wormhole. It's crazy.
Joe, we've had some interesting conversations about how much would you have to be paid to do certain things. I mean,
dude, I've been bought so many times, bro. I've been bought so many times, and it's just I feel sick about it now. Yeah, dude. I don't. That's a good point. Like, it does. Like, it has control over people, and even something as little as like $5. Like, you want to feel that pride and just like sticking it to them almost, but you can get burned. And yeah, it's definitely weird. I think he being Mr. Beast, he definitely probably gets a kick out of having that power over others.
Oh, he definitely does.
I mean, I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. Like, I've never met him, but there's always something a little bit off when I see two people just competing against each other. One gets $1 million, one gets zero.
Yeah.
It's just a weird dynamic.
I feel like you rarely see, I mean, this is another element of just anyone who's successful. It's like their entire like livelihood and personality is on a silver platter for your judgment. And if you were to blow up one day, whether you like it or not, people would be able to like, break down every element of you. And all of a sudden they'd be like, you could see X, Y, Z about this guy. And I think the basis of it all is we're all human. We all have skeletons. And you look at like Kanye. I don't know if you saw the Kanye documentary, but you look at somebody who's sincerely an innocent dude at the beginning of it all. When he's younger, he has one passion, and it's just producing and making music.
Yeah.
And he's really authentic in the documentary. And then you see as the fame builds up and he's under this microscope of everyone else, everything turns for him. And I would imagine that's just kind of like the foundation or basis for fame in general is, you know, if somebody's saying you're a certain way and you're catching the flack for being a certain way, you might just end up acting that way if you're getting the flack in the first place. And I'm not saying that's justified, but you know, I always think about these people who like these celebrities, and man, it's hard to acknowledge, but like privacy is somewhat of a privilege, man, to be able to like, you know, especially people who get famous young. I mean, if I got famous when I was 16, I would literally be screwed. I would be so screwed. Everyone, like, if people had a microscope on me from when I was 16 to now, I'd be screwed. Everyone would think I'm like, that dude is a brick. And, you know, once somebody gets that first impression of you, it's hard to change it, man. That first impression is strong. And so when you're not fully developed or anything, or you're in a tough spot and you're under the spotlight, people will only see the bad. So something that I always try to do for myself is see the good in people. And it kind of does flip around a perspective a lot. And that's why I'm more skeptical on the Mr. Beast. I fully see what you guys are saying for sure, but you just never know. I actually saw a video, like the behind the scenes, and it was like him. He was like borderline breaking down, and he like turned to one of the guys on his cast and he was like, "Do you think I'm evil?" And the guy didn't even give him an outright no. He was like,
"Oh, yo, I watched that last night. It's he's like, I think you're unique."
Yeah, exactly. He didn't even tell him outright that he thought he was evil. That he thought he was or wasn't. He said, "I think you're unique," and it's like, wow, man, that you really hung him out to dry. That's
Joe. For context, Mr. B asked, "Do you think I'm evil?" The guy sits there, he goes, It's like 30 seconds goes by, and he goes,
yeah,
you're different. You're one of the most unique people I've met.
Damn. And that's someone on his staff?
No.
yeah, probably. I don't know, maybe.
Or it could have been the guy that was. There's two people that filmed this vlog. It could have been one of.
Yeah.
It may have been one of the. Okay, so anyway, about this, Enzo, you brought up a great point about like being on a microscope, and people knowing everything about you, stuff like that. I've told Joe this. I told you this. You asked your social media with one book that every person, like, what should I read right now? You guys have to read the book The Laws of Human Nature. It is sitting on that table right now. You think you're a great person and you have great character and all the systems you have in your life are fantastic. I promise to God, you read this book, you're going to sit there in a chair shaking with anxiety every single second, thinking back 10 years, 20 years. Holy cow. This is what happened in my childhood. This is why I act right now. This is why I always act a certain way. This is why people don't like me. This is why people like it. Will just strip you down, put you on a sidewalk, and spit you out and chew you out. And you will feel horrible about yourself because it is going to shine a light on every single one of your deficiencies, every single one. But there's nothing better than that because you can never change those things if you're not aware of them. Yeah. So that is my number one recommendation. Anybody who's obsessed with self-growth, self-obsession, wants to improve their character, or just get to know yourself, you have to read that book.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, because I think I'd say 90% of people think they're a good person, but you don't really know yourself until you end up in the situation. Like, we've never had millions and millions of probably billions of viewers like Mr. Beast has. Like, it's very easy to say you're a good person when you have food in your belly, you have a stable career, a stable life. But if you go a week, 2 weeks without food, like, I'm sure you're going to start doing some fucked up things.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. I always think about that. Like, what would I actually be a good person if I hadn't eaten in 2 weeks? Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. All right. Next point. Enough about content. Enough about Mr. Beast. One of the things, Enzo, on your fitness account, I saw it. You wrote at the end of your paragraph, "I have never felt such a sense of urgency to optimize my humble experience." That statement really stood out to me. Break that down.
Yeah. So I would say that I feel like I've wasted a decent amount of time, and maybe it's not necessarily true, but I feel like I've gone X amount of years of my life just oblivious. Sometimes you go day by day, and then one day you just wake up, and you're conscious of everything, and that's a little anxious of a feeling. It's like, whoa, I am really in here. But you're happy to have that feeling. And I think once everything fell into place like that for me, and I'm not saying by any means I have everything figured out. I don't. And that's why I have this sense of urgency, is because I know that I went for a long time without open-mindedness, without the willingness to learn, all of these good attributes that actually do help you improve just from a mental perspective. So I say that because, and this is one of my favorite mantras, is tomorrow is not guaranteed. It's just simply not. I mean, you literally hear stories every other day about someone our age, someone you knew, into a very unfortunate situation that changes the trajectory of their life. I mean, in 10 years, I could not tell you one thing that's going to be similar to today. I mean, any of us can die at any moment. And having that I could die any day attitude, some people would say it's morbid, man. I have to, just for my own sake, keep that in the back of my head and battle with that and come to terms with that and be accepting of it, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. It's just not. And I think people take for granted how fickle life is. And I think when I have that, I have to have this urgency to do everything within the realm of human experience that I can to make sure that I'm getting the most out of this life. I see life as a gift, man. And I wasn't always this way, I'll be honest. And I understand when people can get in places where it's not like that. But I remember at my hardest times, I would tell myself, like, no matter what I do, keep the mentality that this is an opportunity. A lot of people go through deep, dark mental health struggles. I'm sure you guys have. Everybody does. It's part of our generation. It's part of just being human, especially in a developed society. But I see those as something internally, whether it's a higher power or something internally, kept you going in those moments. What is that? And that's the human spirit, in my opinion. That's the Holy Spirit, but we don't have to get into that side of things. I'm just saying that, I have this sense of urgency because I see life as a gift. I think it's an absolute opportunity. I think that it's a privilege to even be alive. If you look at the probabilities of you being alive, you are an impossibility. So if that's the foundation of your existence, then why would you not do everything in your power to justify the fact that you're here at all? I see life as a video game, man. Video game world. You got this slider here. How strong are you? How hard do you work? And you try to slide it up as much as you can. Experiences, relationships. Like, I literally just think that life is such an opportunity. And I use the word urgency because I'm 23 today, I'm 30 tomorrow, and I'm dead the next day, man. You just don't know what it looks like. So I have to go get it by any means. That's just my mentality. So.
Well said. There's one thing that stuck out. You said you didn't, right now you view life as a gift and you're very grateful. You said you
Yeah.
didn't always view it that way. What changed, and how did you view it?
Yeah. So maybe there was times that I didn't view it directly as a gift, but I knew it's not like a disdain for being alive. That's not what I'm alleging to. But I mean, everybody has their like mental health, valleys. I just sort of didn't have the tools at the time when I first experienced that to really understand what was going on. And that was a time where I was struggling to see the vision of everything in my life, like, how does this apply to the ultimate path? One of those, why is this happening to me mentalities. That was what was like filling my heart. And I was like,
Interesting.
something isn't making sense right now. And now if I was to get into a framework like that, I've built the mental framework to sustain something like that. So life has always been a gift. I know that now. It's just, I didn't see it that way because I didn't have the tools to see it that way, I guess is the best way I could say it.
Yeah, I also feel like it could be overwhelming. Like like yourself. Like I've always known like this shit's weird, bro. Like I have no idea why I exist. The odds of being alive. I saw a YouTube video on this. It's like 10 raised to the power of 2 million. Like you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And that's been daunting for me at times. Like you kind of feel like you have this higher purpose, like something you're supposed to do, but it's not always easy to know what it is you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's something I've struggled with. It's something I still struggle with a lot. Um, I guess is that something you guys have felt like you're supposed to be doing something, but it's kind of hard to figure out like what the fuck it is you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, for sure. I for sure felt that. I think it was. I tell this story to a lot of my friends, especially ones going through like a hard time. I think the existential crisis is just due diligence for people our age. It's like, especially when you're like fresh out of college. You guys are right around that corner, right? You're still in school, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so right around that corner, man. The moment you guys graduate, it's gonna be like, oh, this is way different. And obviously I'm biased because I just had that experience. But yeah, people, I think, just phases of change they put you into. When you're in college, you're not really thinking like big picture. You're like, I'm in college right now. I'm doing what I need to be doing. But then when you're not in college, you're in that job search. It's like, whoa, this job. How do I know this is the job for me or whatever? This is all just like structurally built things. But what I tell my friends to do, and maybe this worked for me but it wouldn't work for everyone, is there was a time in my life where I felt the same way. I was like, am I even doing the right thing right now? And I was like, I need to know at least the basis of my values, and that'll help me guide myself to know what I ultimately want. So it was like the January 1st of 2023, I guess, right before I went abroad. And, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in transition periods of your life, when you were leaving from high school, going to college, that is a very anxious inducing time. I think the phase is called liminality in some religions. It's basically this like in between phase. And the reason why you feel so anxious is because there's no certainty. You have no clue what's going to happen. That's a good thing. You can find major growth there. But when you're in college, you're comfortable because you're used to it. When you're in high school, you're comfortable because you're used to it. So those phase changes, that's where you can grow a lot. But it takes the gonads to really look in the mirror and be like, how am I going to get through this? So this was a phase change for me. I'm going abroad. I'm going to live alone in a different country. And it was really getting the best of me. And I was like, man, like, why am I letting myself get worked up? Like, I need to know who I am. And I think know yourself is a good mantra as well. So I sat myself in a room and I legit did not leave this room. I locked the door, did not leave the room the whole day, didn't eat one thing. It was the longest I ever fasted. I don't really even fast. It was just incidental. And I was like, I'm not leaving this room until I write down, like, have these discussions with myself. And I see Anthony does, the self-talk, and he'll sit there and just let his mind wander. Yeah, I mean, that is undisputed something that's beneficial to you. So I sat there in that room, let my mind wander at like 3 a.m. the night after I started doing it. I opened my journal, and I will actually find this page for you. I will read it to you guys if I can. It should be right on the date that I said it was.
Wait, you started from what? 8 a.m. till 3 a.m.?
I basically just spent the whole day in this room. I didn't leave the room. And I just kind of sat there waiting until I figured out what I was, who I am.
Dude, respect.
Yeah, it's 1:20 a.m. This is I could show you it. It was the 4th. It was the 4th. So here it is. The 4th of January, 2023. It was never about you. The past year of purpose and soul searching became so rooted in I. What drove me for so long was others. Lost that getting so enveloped in my own endeavors. Live for others. It's what completes you. Just see where it takes you. I know that's the best to you. Let the narcissism go. Reinvigorate yourself. So that's what I wrote. And basically, when I was in this time of not knowing who I was, I think it was because I got caught so much up in who I was. There's a whole world of people out there. I have a family. I have friends. How do we fit into the whole dynamic? And, it might be, how are you going to get far doing that? You can't pour from an empty cup. And I love that expression, because the more that you start to see who you are in relation to other people and what you mean to people will give value back to yourself. Then you'll start to, think more meticulously about how you act in a relationship, how you act in a friendship. And honestly, man, like the earth that we're grounded on, that's what unifies us all. Like if you start to look outwardly and say, man, like even the opportunity to see you guys today is awesome to me. I value relationships and I value other people. And that's the premise of me wanting to be a doctor. But you kind of just got to take yourself to that point and be like, what makes me me? And your values will align with your actions. So
Me and Joe are both big time value guys. I mean, one of Joe's big things this year is set value based goals. And I love values because like at the end of the day, it just makes your decision-making process so much
Absolutely.
quicker. Because
Absolutely.
like you start thinking you're pushing and pulling all these different ways. Well, just make decisions based on your values. If it doesn't align with X, Y, and Z, okay, easy. No, I'm not going to do this. If it does, let me head in that direction.
Yeah.
It simplifies a lot of things, but also at the essence, it really builds up self-confidence.
Absolutely.
I've noticed this in my life. I did not identify values probably until last year. I didn't really know who I was. I'd wander all over the place, push and pulled. I wanted to be a people pleaser. And then you really sit down and self-reflect and understand like what you're about. Okay, I'm about this. Well, let me put people in my life that support this. Let me be that person, other people, so then they start embodying this stuff. And it just gives you so much of a clear vision. But it's kind of ever changing too, though. Like every single day, it's another test. You have to remind yourself, and stuff can get difficult. And then anxiety, uncertainty, worry, doubt, boom, 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 all that stuff gets thrown in there. So yeah.
It's kind of the reverse of Kanye West. Like he had so many people like giving him that negative perception, like criticizing his character.
Yeah.
And he almost became that embodiment. But if you're outwardly focused, you're focused on making other people feel good with compliments, with generosity and all that. Like they'll start to feel good about themselves, and that'll spill over onto you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just exponential how positive that can get when you're outwardly focused.
That's a really good point. I think part of it, and you guys have both mentioned it, like it's self-fulfilling prophecy. That's why I've started to understand like it's really important the types of people you surround yourself with, because the stuff they'll say will get embedded in your head whether you like it or not. And you have to be so selective with the words that you let like enter this mind, because they will fucking hatch onto your subconscious and then start eating you alive. And then whatever's going on in here, it's going to manifest yourself outwards.
Yep.
So it's such a good point. I'm very glad you brought that up. All right. Deep stuff. So about one of the things I'm going to start doing, and I've teased this a little bit, but for the people that are dedicated listeners, I'm going to start boxing next week because I just want to feel pain. Like I'm done. I just want to feel pain.
You're a masochist. That's what they call it, right, man? You want to feel pain? Is that what it is? Or like sadistic or something like that? Isn't that the word for that?
I have no idea. You call me crazy, but I stopped doing hard things. Like I genuinely stopped. I stopped squatting in the gym because it's like squatting's hard. Like it hurts my back. I could get better results if I just do a leg press, like something like that. But I did that because it was just easy. And I'd give up all these things and it'd start just piling onto my everyday life. I'd start hitting snooze. I wouldn't work hard in the gym at all. My workouts would get cut down to an hour. I'd be in and out. I'd start just negotiating myself with eating. Let me just eat this tonight. It doesn't matter. Like, you don't need to be a bodybuilder. You don't need to be a physique. Shut up, bro. Like at the essence, you just need to start feeling pain and doing hard things because that's going to help you out. Yeah. So I'm doing boxing. But Enzo, you do a ton of difficult things. You've ran a marathon. You've done 75 hard. I think you're training to do an Ironman, right?
Yeah, this year. Yeah.
So, and I know you said like you're a young age. You want to take advantage of that young age and do hard things. Why else do you do these crazy things like a freaking Ironman that's going to put you through hell? Why do you keep coming back to this stuff?
Goals just keep you oriented, man. They just keep you oriented. When you have a goal, there's no time for nonsense. And boxing is actually a great example because it's like a microcosm of my impression of what goals can do for you in your life. So boxing, for example, you're worried about XYZ, right? You have a big paper coming up and you just got in this argument and then boom, you get punched in the face. You don't care about that other stuff anymore. It just doesn't matter. So every guy, man, it's like, it sounds crazy, but everybody's just got to get punched in the face, whether it's literally or figuratively. And, people say that you learn things the easy way or the hard way. I think people learn the hard way or the harder way, man, because some people, they get punched in the face and they'll keep going down that wrong path. So it's literally until you really get punched in the face that you learn your lesson. And I actually did take up boxing too, and I love it as a sport because my buddy who was big into boxing and got me into it, he was saying the same thing. He's like, man, if somebody's punching you in the face, like you can get some perspective pretty quick. And, I feel that perspective is very important. You think about all of the instances that you could succumb to in the world. And I think about my buddy always also said this, different buddy. He said, if there was a pile, I'm sure you guys have heard this, if there was a pile of everyone's problems in the world, they filled up the pile all the way to the ceiling, would you take somebody else's problems to replace yours? And I would bet 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. You're not taking somebody else's problems. And I always think about that. And that's something that, boxing or hard challenges can give you the perspective on. It's like, man, this, we have to like create these hardships for us in America because we are pretty privileged relative to the rest of the world, And so if we let our mind wander, our mind's going to wander on our first world problems. And they're not really problems. Everything's relative. So you have to continue to give yourself that perspective. And I think that's what difficult things does for me is like, man, if I did something hard today, the thing that was a little less hard isn't as hard. It's all relative. You know what I mean? So when I thought that getting my bench press up was, oh man, it's so hard to go to the gym and bench press. But then the other thing that I could be doing is going to an MMA class where I'm getting my ass beat. It's probably not that big of a deal to go bench press real quick. Or if I wanted to do a half marathon, but I've already ran a marathon, then relatively a half marathon is easier. So doing difficult things there. I saw this guy, he was on Joe Rogan, and he said he just does like one really difficult thing every year. It's like a Japanese ritual, and it's embedded in their culture to just do something really difficult because in contrast, everything else will be easier. Not actually easier, but relatively easier. And that goes back to perspective, and that's all up here. So
Yeah,
that's super interesting. So I just got my wisdom teeth out like 10 days ago, and all my whole family was stressing me, saying like, this is going to be terrible. Like, it's going to take you 5 days to recover. It's going to be awful. Yeah. It was the easiest shit in the world. Like I was sick for like 1 day. There was no pain whatsoever. And that had me thinking, and I looked it up. Like, if you do hard things, and the example it gave online was going to the gym and being very consistent with that, you can actually just like lower your natural pain tolerance. Yeah. So something that would be really, really hard for one person is significantly easier for you because your brain's calloused, your body's calloused, whatever it is, but it's dampened. The volume is significantly decreased, which is so interesting.
Yeah.
You got boxing gyms in St. Louis for us or what?
Yeah, man. If it depends what you're looking for. So
give me the grittiest thing ever where I can actually spar. Like I want to spar.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that. I went to this gym, my buddy put me on, and he said you can do 2 routes. You can do the boxing classes where they're basically like you stand face to face with a partner and you guys just sort of shadow box and feel out, the different like zones and stuff like that, just simple boxing. He's like, you won't get hurt, but the amount of better that you'll get in the time frame that you're willing to commit to is much less than the other option, which is basically just an MMA class. You go in there with dudes who are trying to go pro, and it's basically just 3-minute intervals is the whole class. It's a 3-minute interval. You're full go MMA against the guy across from you. No weight class restrictions, no anything. And you just rotate. So you're just going against all these guys who are basically, there's this one guy, Ernest. I mean, no joke. Every time I went against him, he was literally clocking me in the face, man, like legit destroy me. And it's like, it's no mercy, bro. It's no mercy. And obviously you're not going like full go because you're not trying to hurt each other, but you're looking at like a true like 70-80%, and you get better, man, because you have to get better. There's no option. So I'm really happy that, ultimately I ended up choosing to do that class. And I'm happy that my buddy even gave me the option for it because iron sharpens iron. That's a real thing. Right. Like you said, so
they throw you in there though with like, I feel like I'd want to have some class or training to show me how to actually like throw a punch and like where I should put my feet and stuff.
Yeah.
They don't do anything. They throw you right into it.
So some of the days you do technique training too, but some of the days you just don't. What people will do if you're like a true beginner, if you're a true day one, is they'll go lighter on you, and everyone in there, it's awesome, man. Like all those guys there have such an open-minded, like, let's learn mentality. Nobody's better than each other. And that's something that's to be said about getting punched in the face is you're humble. You're not going to have this big ego, like, a lot of, you see the UFC fighters, it looks like they have a big ego. Some of them do because it takes everything to get there, but some of them know, like, it's all about respect in a situation like
Yeah.
that. And so, yeah, you do learn a little bit, and they go easier on you in the beginning, but they're going to push you, man. And honestly, those people tend to know your limits better than you at the beginning, and that's where they'll take you. They'll take you out to the deep water, but they won't let you drown, man. But I loved those. I love those classes, and I only stopped because I had to start studying for the MCAT. But man, it was awesome. I would really recommend it. I could give you all the details. I
Yeah.
plan to go back eventually, but yeah, it's awesome. It really is awesome.
When I studied abroad, so the way you described that, when I studied abroad, I did judo for a little bit because I was like, I want to try something different. It was the exact same format. Like they'd line us up on a mat. You'd have a partner right here. You'd spar for 2-3 minutes, and then you just rotate. First of all, it is a freaking workout. Like your heart is pumping,
Yeah.
and you'll fight people. The thing that like I did though is, I mean, I would just be wrestling. Like I'd have no technique. It'd be out of sheer anger and willpower. But I didn't learn, bro. Like I never did. I just kept trying to throw people around and like
Yep.
get them in a chokehold.
Yeah. I would say the MMA class for the beginning for me was definitely similar. Jiu-jitsu, which is like grappling, that's like the wrestling side of what you were doing. That is tough barrier to entry, man. Those dudes, like, you don't realize how hard it is. Like a black belt in jiu-jitsu is madness. Like that is madness to achieve. Even
Yeah.
a blue belt, that's the first. Man, half the dudes in my gym had been there for years and they weren't even blue belt yet, and these dudes were good, and that had to do with the coach was reluctant to promote these guys. But
Yeah.
man, there's a culture around it. It's like you have to earn your keep. And so I would say my weak suit, the same as you, was I didn't know the technique with wrestling, but even in just like the 6-month window that I did it, I got a lot better at wrestling. But it's just human nature to use your tools to your advantage. I was relatively larger than a lot of these guys. A lot of the dudes who you see fighting are definitely like in the mid 100 range, probably like 5'10", 5'9" average. So I had a decent shot with my size boxing them. But the moment we went to the ground, you'd be surprised. Like, and maybe you wouldn't be surprised. These dudes would pin me quick because they knew the technique. And so I agree with you. I think that's just the human nature. But with time, you get better at everything. You just do. So.
Yeah, facts. All right. Well, there's one more topic. I mentioned I would give Enzo one of the highest compliments I could give someone, and that's character. So to show you some of his character, something I really respect is someone that can have tough conversations and is very blunt. Let me read you some of the messages that Enzo has sent me. And like we met each other, I think I was a freshman, his sophomore year, playing pickup basketball. Didn't really talk until this whole content thing, and then we started talking over the summer. We're not best boys by any means. Like we don't hang out a ton and know each other, but this is still what he sends to me. All right, number one, video concept is great, but thumbnail is not great, and we need to fix it fast. Doesn't look good if I'm keeping it real. Doesn't look professional. Less is more, but still needs work. I'm reading these messages and it's just cracking me up. Like very blunt, straight to the point. I have a lot of respect for that. So my question is, having an attitude like that, like, was that something you were raised with? Was that something that you tried to develop over time, or what's made you just able to give people what they need to hear and take out the fear of judgment and maybe making them angry?
Unfortunately, the biggest element about it is who can take it. You know what I mean? I almost no longer try to change. I never really try to change people. And honestly, there's always going to be a way I want to do something. There's always going to be a way that you guys want to do something. I think that people who are receptive to constructive criticism, that's where I'm going to, be most, I guess, ballsy, I guess you would say. But I think if you're someone who's open-minded, you're willing to hear that. And look, that first, for example, your most recent video, that first thumbnail you sent me, it wasn't the best. And then we work on it and it looks great now, in my opinion. And you were open-minded to that. So I think if it's a greater good, sometimes I'll step in. It's, you see David Goggins always talking about, if you really love someone and they're fat, tell them they're fat, man. That, it's something about it. Maybe it's the way our society has brought us together. That's difficult to do. And there's circumstances you just don't understand sometimes. So I wouldn't say that that's a huge representation of who I am. I think it's more of a representation of who you are. You know, I think that you're very committed to everything that you're doing right now. And I know you want to do things the right way. And I know you want to do things the best way. So it's easier for me to say something to you that'll help you improve. And I think that it goes to, you know, the who's in your circle mentality. It's so easy for me to text one of my buddies and just be like, hey man, you haven't worked out in a while. If I knew that about them, or is everything good with you? Like, what's been going on? You know,
Really?
that's easier for me to do for a guy that I know is going to hold himself accountable in the first place. Now, there's hope for everyone. I believe in everyone. Everybody has all these great opportunities, you know, things about them that say I have potential, you know, so I'll find the best in everyone. Now, how far will I go with everyone is how far they'll let me go. You know, some people I try the same methods and they're not receptive, man. I've got some good buddies who've got some bad habits and it's just not habits that I share. And I can't empathize with those guys. And that's a big matter of it. You know, some people want to be coddled and told that it's okay that you're feeling this way. And then get them to hear. Or there's some people who just want to be told, dude, you are messing your life up. Let's get it together. And that works. So you just got to kind of know who you're talking to. I'm no professional at it. I'm no professional at anything, man. I'm just a guy out here looking to learn, looking to help people out. But I think it has a lot to do with your audience. If you told Joe something, he'd probably be a lot more receptive because he has that mentality that I want to be better. Now, if you told Joe Schmo something, it's a different story because that guy doesn't care. You know, you can't put your values into a guy who doesn't have the same values as you. It's like talking to a brick wall because that's their foundation and that's what's motivating them. Whether you want to change it, whether you know it's good for them or not, it doesn't matter, man. So
Well said. That's very interesting. Well, so if someone wants to be coddled and you find out, you're very direct, and you say something to someone and they don't respond well, do you just give up on them then,
you
or
know,
how do you?
I don't, and it's interesting that you asked that. It would be easier for me to give up, but I just keep chipping away in different ways. I think that you know, the the real like alarming thing of our generation is lack of confidence. I always ask people, why aren't you confident in yourself? And you'll find really quickly they don't have much of an answer. If they do, it's all this like, you know, fabricated. It's like maybe someone told them that or something like that. It's like you have all the reasons to be confident in yourself. I mean, you're you. There's not another you out here. So nobody's going to do you like you. And so it's really just trying to find the thing that psychology is a big element of it too, man. Everyone has different psychology. So it's trying to find the avenue that helps someone realize who they are. When you start to like realize the good and the power in yourself, whew, you can do some damage, man. I mean, the most successful times in my life, football, for example, the best football I ever played is when I had a coach, the coaches who was nearest to me, when he believed in me, that was when I did the most damage. And there's a power to believing in yourself, but the moment that somebody else believes in you, man, just takes one. And so everybody in my life that matters to me, I try to tell them, if you have a goal, you can do it. You need to believe that you can do anything. And that moves mountains, man. It's just the prospect of envisioning something. If you can really picture it, it's possible. Maybe it's not. Maybe I can't fly one day, but damn, I'm going to try to fly. I'm going to tell myself I can fly because what do I lose? What do I lose if I say that I can fly and I can't fly? Oh, I'm so embarrassed. No, dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You have to believe in yourself. And that could be a corny message or whatever, but look at the power of believing in yourself. You guys know it. Manifesting, whatever you want to call it. So I don't give up on people. I just try to find the avenue that they're most receptive to. So maybe a guy who's addicted to weed, for example, you know, they think that, you know, that's the only thing that they're going to be able to do for the rest of their life. But then you start to show them, you know, I could say, why are you smoking weed? That makes no sense to me. Why would you do that? That wrecks you. But that's not the best way to go about it because I can't empathize with that. I've never had a weed addiction. So in my eyes, it's what are you doing smoking weed? It makes no sense. But in their eyes, it's what they know, you know?
Yeah.
So to break down that and just be, it's almost ignorant or arrogant at certain times when somebody has an addiction or something to tell them, what are you doing? We got to get it together, man, because I haven't been there. Now, what I do know is objectively, you can appraise that that's not the best thing for you. And objectively, let's appraise things that are good for you. Throw in a good habit here, throw in a good habit there. And then all of a sudden, I think the gym or faith are two great examples, man, because once you start putting your life in the direction of something that's good for you, then you start to reflect a little bit and be like, man, I'm taking time out of my day to get my life together, whether it's physically in the gym or spiritually at church or whatever it might be. And then you say, well, if I'm doing this good for myself, then why would I keep doing that that's bad for myself, which is bad habits, oversleeping, smoking, drinking, partying, whatever you want to call it, man, porn, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You start to reflect a little bit more on those things. So it's about looking into the habits, maybe seeing if you could fit somewhere else that doesn't directly attack the problem. But down the line, man, if you're going to the gym 100 days in a row, whatever it might be, a year in a row, 2 years in a row, those bad habits, they're going to start to, beg questions in your life. You're going to say to yourself, I'm spending all this time in the gym on my body and my body's not changing. Is it because I'm eating like shit? Is it because I'm sleeping like shit? Is it because I'm smoking all the time? Do I drink too much? I'm putting in the work. I want to see progress. The same thing goes for your faith. You find a guilty conscience. So, you got all
It's
these habits.
momentum, bro. It's momentum. That's what
It
it
is
is.
momentum. And
It's
yeah,
momentum
thanks
and
for cutting me off. Thanks for cutting me off because I was yapping too much. But it's the sliders, bro. You got to get those bad sliders down. You got to get your good sliders up. Video game world, man.
Facts. One of and we're nearing the end here. We'll wrap this up. But the whole thing about belief and having other people believe in you, I think that's one of the most powerful things ever. And that's why, and you have to believe in yourself too. Like it does have to, it could stem from someone else and that could be the spark, but that spark makes you believe in yourself. And that's why we always say believe foolishly. But the one thing I'll say to wrap this up is the best compliment I've ever gotten. And I don't know if this girl is going to listen to this podcast. She probably doesn't, but I really like this girl, and she said this over the summer, and we were just having a conversation. We always get in really deep conversations when we're around each other, and she just said, I got to keep my eye on you because I think you're gonna do really big things someday." And just a simple sentence like that, bro. Like she has no idea how much I think about that. When I'm fucking feeling horrible, down in the dumps, like I think back to like that, and I'm like, I can't let her down. Like I need to live up to that. She believes in me. That's all I need. I believe in myself. Super powerful. So if you're someone on this podcast right now, believe in yourself, believe foolishly, but understand the power your mouth has to change someone's entire world in 1 second.
Yep.
That's all it takes.
And then I actually wanted to end on one thing, not my podcast, but sorry. I wanted to ask you, do you remember what you said to me when we went on that run about like criticism? Do you remember that?
About myself or
about yourself or like the question that you asked?
No.
You said like, what do you think about the criticism that I'm getting? Like, should I listen to it? How do you deal with criticisms? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that what I said then holds true. What you are doing is awesome, man. You guys have a dream right now. It is so clear. It is so vivid. Like you said, you have momentum. People are going to clown you no matter what. And I think I'm starting to find that people who clown are usually the people who are envious that someone is out there chasing their dreams. Might not even be the dream that they have, but someone's out there chasing their dreams. And if you have the time to sit there and comment on someone's post, some sort of clowning or something, you probably don't have a dream going on in the first place. And I could never imagine either of you guys sitting there in someone's comment section clowning them, especially if they're chasing their dreams, because you know what it takes to chase your dreams in this world, in this society, whatever you want to call it. And you guys are doing it. So you know that the people who are trying to bring you down, hate never comes from above, boys. So I really applaud what you're doing. You guys are grinding out here. It might not pan out right now. It might not pan out in a year, but consistency, man, just stick to it. I am, very impressed with what you guys do. I respect anybody who works hard. That is my baseline for respect. If you're working hard, if you're pursuing something, I will never knock you for that. Whether you're doing it the right way or the wrong way, you'll figure it out over time. And, we're all just figuring out. So keep friggin' grinding. Seriously, it's an honor to be on here because I love to be around people who want something for themselves. They have goals because, like I said, tomorrow's not guaranteed. So I respect what you guys are doing. It's awesome. And you're going to do damage. Don't let anyone deter you or discourage you. Just keep going. You have to keep going.
Much love, Enzo. Joe, did you have one thing to say before?
I've got one last question for you, Anthony.
Yeah.
I don't know who that girl is, but why is she not your girlfriend right now, bro? What the fuck are you doing? Come on.
We're just friends. We're just friends.
Dude, that's like the best thing you can ever hear as a guy. That's unbelievable.
She's keeping
Dude,
an eye on you,
that's
man.
why I think about it all the
He
time.
doesn't need to have her as a girlfriend right now because she's keeping an eye. So when he goes up, she'll have the eye on him.
He's got a boyfriend. He's got a boyfriend. He's also way taller than me. That's
Bro, what's the problem with that?
I don't want to date a girl that's taller than me. Anyway, all right. That being said, if you guys have made it 55 minutes, you guys are crazy. But you guys are destined to get some value out of this because you guys know that we're on the same journey and we're struggling with a lot of stuff and we're trying to pick this apart and we are there to support you along the journey. And so thank you for listening for these 55 minutes. And if you have, give us a rating on Spotify. Share this podcast with someone else similar to us. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at CrossItAisle.podcast. We appreciate it all. God bless. Believe foolishly. Future looks bright. Peace.